Welcome back to the channel. It's Vorant here, and we are doing something slightly different today. So, following the death, very unfortunate death of my last character, I kind of wanted to highlight the features of what we're going to be doing now, which is moving into build 45.51, which is incredible. So the work that they're doing on this game is insane. But there's quite a few important features about this build that need to be taken into account, really. So it kind of flips the script on a lot of what the game is known for, and not really known for, but what a lot of the veteran players are used to, like unlimited gas stations, these fences being pretty strong, being able to buy yourself in with a vendor machine and like a tumble dryer, for example. So a lot of that has changed with the new update. So I kind of just want to highlight the most important features that are being added that really changed the game for me personally, and what I'm most looking forward to following this character into my new character, and what's basically going to change and have to change to be able to live in the new world as it is. So the top one for me has got to be the new gas station, and how gas stations aren't full anymore. So they contain a certain amount of fuel that is finite. It's no longer an unlimited resource, so you can no longer secure a gas station, box the whole area off, live in it forever, and just survive. You can, or you used to be able to box yourself up in like the top of Rosewood, for example. Like I could head straight down now and find myself in a hole and just live there forever on the gas, and I can stock up a fridge and a freezer just on farmed goods and just survive and just be a peaceful character. You can't do that anymore. With the new gas stations and their finite resources, you're now forced to move, which is incredible. So I reckon you'll probably have about 3 months of gas just to last you, but once that's up, it's gone. Your generator's no longer going to run unless you're moving to another town to conquer a new gas station and really take a hold of the whole world as a whole, rather than just one town. So it's no longer just the focus of one place, it spreads across the whole of Knox County, which is incredible. So I love that. I love that we're forced to move now. It just flips the script on the game entirely, especially for multiplayer servers as well once that's released, because now you're going to get factions that are just going to control gas stations. So I'll have a little group that will just set up in one, hold it off, and they can use it as a trading option, or even just as a power status, I guess, which is going to be insane. So it's going to make things so much more exciting and just more gripping. So I'll move on to the next one. Enough of my obsession with the new gas stations. So there's quite a few different changes with Zeds as well, like I said about the pathfinding earlier. So they're no longer just gonna barge against the wall, basically. So if they see a like a vendor machine in the way, they'll try and find an alternate route where they don't have to go through that. But if you've protected the whole of one wall, so if I block this door, this window and this window, and of course these garages weren't here, they would just fight their way through it. They'd be getting into this building, so you'd have nothing holding them back anymore, which is just crazy. So I never really used it, like the vendor machines as barricades and things like that, but we're now forced to use the in-game option of like wooden barricades or metal shutters for the windows, which is great. So it instantly changes the game. So you'll need a hammer and nails to be able to do whatever you need to protect your base. It's not just about can I pick up this item? Yes, I'm safe. Because you're not anymore. Which is excellent. They've also added an option for transmission to be saliva only, which I'm completely on board with. So I'll probably never or maybe rarely use it just for like a challenge run. So I'll probably do like a ridiculously hard difficulty and set it to saliva only, because I do like it. It fits with the world, I guess. So personally, I've never seen the craze for transmission to be through scratches, so it doesn't make sense to me. A lot of grime lives under their nails, but I don't think you could get infected through that. It kind of be like someone having the flu, you getting scratched by them, and then you've got the flu. So you get it by breathing it in or getting it into your system. So I do like that. That is cool. So they've added a few other little bits which are great. You can now gain tailoring skill just by ripping up clothes. I'll see how much it gains actually. So you can only get them from getting thread from items. So I didn't get any from that. Okay, so it's quite difficult to gain because you have to get a thread. So you got to get a specific resource from what you're ripping up to be able to actually make use of it, which is good. So you can't just sit, kill about 1,000 Zeds and just rip up all their clothes. It doesn't work like that. Well, it does, but not in the sense of you're going to gain XP from every single one of them. You'll probably get, I don't know, I reckon about 150, maybe 200 out of those 1,000. So it's not as scaled as it should be for farming, which is good. It means you actually have to use the skill, but it's there. It's an option. Another one is auto opening nail boxes, which is such a small little change, but I love it. So it's so like just on the back of your mind. You always get your last nail, think, oh, why can't I do that? Take you 5 minutes to realise you haven't got any nails. You don't need to worry about that anymore, which is great. Another one with a pathfinding thing as well. So Zeds can destroy tents. So I only used it once as a protection thing, but they can now destroy them. So you can no longer box yourself in with a undestroyable tent and be safe forever, which is great. I think they've also reduced the reverse speed and power, which is quite cool. So if you sat in a car, back in the day you'd be able to just reverse, slap the car straight in reverse and fight your way through a crowd like they were nothing. So you could tear through it like you're just driving down the street. So if you got trapped, you weren't going forward, you were fighting your way out backwards, which was always the better option to do. But now it's reduced to, I'm guessing it will be the same as going forward. So I haven't tested that out yet. I will test that out just to see what we're actually in for. But I think that's what they've set it to. So if you're stuck in a crowd, you've got to fight your way out and run. Like you're no longer safe in that car. You can't just put it in reverse and hope for the best. You're fighting through, which is great. So it makes it just that little bit more scary. So the car might be made of steel, but if you've got 100 Zeds behind you, it's like you're driving against the wall, which it would be in real life. So that's a cool new realism feature that I love. They've also switched up the first aid skills as well. Not necessarily the skills, but how you react to wounds. So if you've got a fractured leg that's just a very light fracture, you're still going to be able to move pretty much at the speed I'm moving now, maybe with a bit of a limp. But if you've got like a borderline broken leg, it's going to slow you down drastically. So you're probably going to be moving at like that speed normally. But these can be changed. So with the first aid skill, if you've got a very high skill, like I'd say about level 8 would be the peak for it, your splints would be a lot stronger. So you can put a splint on that wound and sort yourself out. So you'll be able to walk probably about this speed, even on an awful fracture, because your medical skill, you're medically trained to be able to do it, which is quite cool. So it spruces it up a bit, just to keep it painful, but not too painful to be impossible to deal with, which I do like. So they've also, speaking of changing walk speeds, they've finally changed how you cope under heavy loads. So if you're carrying 2 bags on either hand and you've got one on your back, if they're quite full, you're going to lose so much speed. So I know you do already cut down a little bit of speed, so it's nothing too crazy, but you do lose some speed. Now you lose a ton, so you're going to be a million times slower with that in your hand, which is great. So it kind of puts a strain on how much you want to be running in and out of a building with. So it's like in my last run, I went in duffel bag in either hand, carrying, I don't know, probably about 100 boxes of shells out and ammo rounds, which is just crazy. So you can't really do that anymore. Not justifying it, because you will have to sacrifice something to be able to get the speed you need to be able to get gone, which is great. I love it. So I think that's probably the most game changes they've made. So they've done quite a bit of work with the noise. So they've fully reworked the sound of this game. So I don't know if you've noticed, but like right now, we're still listening to the peaceful music of Project Zomboid. So it's just nice, it's relaxing. But once we get into combat, this might be a poor example, so it's going to be the one time it's not going to work for me. But yeah, how it should work is when you are under threat, it will switch. It will be scary enough, or a scary enough situation, the music will change. I think this is it setting in now. And you will be kind of immersed into what you're doing. Yeah, there we go. It's setting now. Now if I run off, go do my own thing, wait for everything to settle down, it will just fade back out and I'll be carrying on doing peaceful stuff, which is great. So they've also redone a lot of the weathering system, I think. Maybe, I might be wrong in that. That might be a future thing, sound-wise. But they've worked a lot on sound, so I'll leave a link in the description for the full patch notes so you can have a proper look. They've also done moving on from the sound, they've done a lot of loot distribution changes. So like before, you go to a Spiffers, for example, you could go through it all. You'd find like baseball bats, you'd probably find a shovel, some hammers, nails, all of that stuff, shotgun shells if you're lucky. But now if you go into a Spiffers, you're mainly going to find food. So it's all so if you go into one counter and there's a ton of food, it will pretty much primarily be food. If you go into the next counter and there's like a cooking pot and a bacon tray, primarily be utensils, which is great. So they've centralized the looting tables, which is brilliant. They've also added things like rifles to sheds and just little things that you would find in a garage or a shed. Like you can get more car parts in a garage, you can find more jerry cans in a shed and like metal parts, rather than going into a shed and finding canned food, or going into a garage and finding, I don't know, like books, things like that. So things you wouldn't really find, but you go into a bookcase, you're not going to find like cupware, your Tupperware, utensils, things like that. You're going to find just books, magazines, nothing else, which is great. So it kind of puts a realistic effect on, you're going to be looking in places to find certain objects and receiving those objects because that's where they should be. So it kind of just flips the script on kind of like winging it. So if you run into a house, you're not really winging it anymore. You know where to go for things, which is great. So especially the new guys, it helps people out to know where to look for things, which is brilliant. I love it. So it's just going to make it so much more seamless. So the amount of times I've spent hours on end looking for seeds, and I find them like in the bathroom, just sat in a bathroom cabinet. But that shouldn't really happen anymore, which is brilliant. I love it. So there are a ton more changes. A lot of them are very, very subtle changes. A lot of them are pretty big depending on the audience that's reading it. So you've got a lot of changes to the modding community, so they can add a lot more assets and things like that, which is quite cool, which means we're going to get some cool mods, which I'm so stoked for. So I never really use mods, but I'm going to be using them a lot more now. And yeah, it's going to be great. So I'm really looking forward to where they go from here. So they've kind of opened their options up massively to pretty much take the game wherever they want. So they've set their foundation now with build 45.51. So 45 was like the groundwork. This just kind of rehauls everything and sets their... You're not meant to find those. Cool, like it. So they're meant to be pretty rare now. But yeah, 45 was kind of their foundation, their new foundation for how they want the game to be. But 45.51 has set their standard for realism and which direction they want to take the game, basically. So they're not veering into an arcade world, they're going all out on realism. So you are going to suffer and feel like it is kind of like real life, which is great. That's right up my street, and hopefully it's up the guys' streets that play in this game as well. But yeah, I'll leave a link in the description for the full change list. So I know a lot of people have probably already read it, but if you haven't, definitely have a quick look. So there's a ton of fixes they've added to the game as well. But this pretty much just highlights, in my opinion, after about 600 hours, how the game is going to be changed by probably about 10 of the most important features in the game. But yeah, I think that is all I'm going to be chatting for today. So I've covered all of my bases, I think. So yeah, let me know your opinions on the new changes and build 45.51 now that's finally here. So it'd be interesting to know other people's takes and how they're going to go about working with the new changes, really. So it's interesting to see. So a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on it. So drop a comment, let me know what your most important features are. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up just for now. Thanks for watching. I'm going to be starting a new series probably from tomorrow. So I'm finally over the pain of losing my last character. So yeah, hopefully you stick around for that. Any luck, I'll see you there. Peace.